next again, Dr. Mumpower. What do you think is the top concern of citizens here in Western North Carolina, and how would you address that concern as Congressman?
I think the economy scares everyone to death. We're talking about gas prices. Who would have ever thought that we'd be spending $3.60 for a gallon of gas in Western North Carolina? That has a tremendous impact on a great deal of people, not just in terms of their disposable income, but food and shelter and other things that matter to so many folks. What do you do about that? Well, I can tell you it's not handouts from borrowed money from China. I have a tremendous amount of concern about that. We have a national debt of $10 trillion right now. I can tell you it's not an inflationary money policy by the Fed. I can tell you it's not by incompetent leadership at the congressional level where we fail to address any problem. If you can name a major problem that Congress has taken upon itself and been able to fix in recent years, I'd be interested in learning more about it. What do? You enforce our trade policies. We have lots of trade agreements, but they're one-sided, both in terms of how they're designed, how they're rigged, and enforcement. Start with China. In Western North Carolina, we can create a product, the manufacturer told me this, you can create a product, you haven't held up that sign yet, have you? You can create a product, manufacture it, patent it, and in 3 months, China will put it on the market, cheaper, with matching quality. That's wrong. China's not our enemy. But if we don't start treating them differently, we're going to continue to mortgage the future of our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
I think the top priority here in Western North Carolina is jobs. And I think the biggest challenge we have is to find jobs. Those jobs that were taken really beginning when NAFTA was passed, that used to be the bedrock of employment here for all of our citizens. They're gone, obviously, and we're struggling to figure out how to find jobs that will replace those that we've lost. The jobs that are now available are not like the jobs of the worker's father or grandfather. These are high technology jobs, jobs that require a different kind of education. Those are the things we need to be working on. Bringing in new companies, training workers through the local community colleges, and working on improving graduation rates and capabilities of high school students, those kinds of things, and also empowering entrepreneurship. That's how we deal with jobs. And it's not an easy thing to do, and it won't happen in the short run.
My answer is similar to the other two, except I answer jobs, jobs, and jobs, because there are 3 kinds of jobs out here. The first is in the tourism industry, which is also construction for the tourism industry, which is quite healthy, to the point where our streets are clogged and we have an air pollution problem. Well, throw in the cost of gasoline, and it's obvious that we need to get more people coming to Western Carolina, bringing their tourist dollars, coming on trains or buses. That's doable. That's workable. Now, at the other end of the scale, there are jobs in manufacturing which has been kicked in the head for 50 years. And part of that is due to NAFTA. Part of that is what Wanda told me to my face. I knew people being fired after they trained their replacements, but I'd never actually met one. And when I did, it was a very impressive experience. It'll take cooperative efforts with Tennessee, North Carolina, the counties on both sides of the Great Smokies, the federal government, the state government. It isn't easy, but it is doable. And it has to do with partly policies set wrongly in the Congress of the United States.
Now you get to finish up this last question. When elected to Congress, what will be your top 3 priorities in the first 90 days?
Well, I'll give you one that's important to me, and you may not have thought of it, and that's the jurisdiction of the federal courts. You have here this motto, which is the American motto. It also happens to be the motto of Florida. And there are court cases going on right now. Fortunately, the ACLU lost the one in Indiana, trying to knock this off the license plates. And they're about to file another one in Florida, and it is the Florida motto as well. Why should the federal courts, as set up by the framers, be telling any local jurisdiction that it can't use the national motto? That's absolutely insane. Now, Congress has the power to cure that. We can take away the jurisdiction of the federal courts over certain issues where they've messed up. For the same reason you take matches away from children so they won't burn the house down, you should take certain jurisdiction away from the federal courts so they won't burn the Constitution down. You probably have not even thought of that issue, but it's a very simple one, to change the jurisdiction of the federal courts. The larger issues we've already talked about, jobs, and of course education. Because 30 years down the road, if we do not educate the next generation in our history, in our culture, in our economy, how it works. There are people in Congress that don't understand economics 101, which is if the supply goes up, the price goes down. If the supply goes down, or the demand goes up, price goes up. This is basic stuff. If you were awake during the first week of economics 101, you know it. And yet there are veteran members of Congress who don't have a clue as to the truth about economics. So there are many issues that will be in front of any congressman, including me. But the ones that matter to me the most are the structural ones about how our government was created and how it operates best, and to defend it against its assaults from outside the country and within.
I said at the beginning, I think the real problem in Congress is that they're working for themselves and not for us. And every policy that they've created in the past, I don't know, 2 decades reflects that. And so when I go to Congress, the first thing I'm going to do is take the message there that I'm coming into the halls of Congress to represent the people of Western North Carolina, to improve their lives and to do what it takes to do that. And we can start by working on the immigration plan to do the things we've already mentioned. We can start by finding a strategy to ensure that we're not staying in Iraq any longer than we have to, by neutralizing the threat posed by Muslim terrorists. And we can start by looking at the healthcare system that we talked about and revising that. And in 90 days, if we just take the first step on dealing with those issues, we'll be a long way down the road to resolving our problems.
My first goal is to make sure that Washington doesn't change me, so that I'm in a position to help change Washington by working with other people of like mind. I'm not going to take the health insurance. I'm not going to take the retirement plan. I'm going to send Nancy Pelosi a letter that says I want the worst office in Congress, and don't worry about putting me on big important committees so that you can manipulate my vote. I won't let that happen. But in truth, the most important job for a congressman in Western North Carolina is right here at home, by setting up offices that provide constituent service to help people get through the federal maze, the federal bureaucracy, and solve problems. And it will not make any difference when you walk in my door if you have holes in your pocket, money in your pocket, or tobacco in your pocket. I will treat you the same, and I will make serving the people of Western North Carolina, not by bringing home pork from Washington, but by helping them solve problems. Job one. Thank you.
At this point,